Tropical Storm Melissa has now formed and is forecast to become the next hurricane of the season. I'm going to be honest with you folks, I'm quite concerned about this storm system for our family down here in the Caribbean. So I thought I would jump on here and make another video for tonight and give you all the latest information that we have. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. And we are certainly praying for you folks down in the Caribbean. And we're going to discuss on why I'm really worried about this storm system and what it can do for areas like Jamaica, Cuba, Hispaniola, and of course we need to figure out what it could do on down the road and maybe the Turks, Caicos Islands and even the Bahamas, and eventually way on down the road watch the East Coast with this storm system also. So let's get rocking and rolling here. So this is our storm system itself. This is Tropical Storm Melissa. Certainly misaligned, meaning just the convection is not aligned over or on top of the actual lower level circulation with this system. It's just a sloppy looking tropical system. It's getting blasted by shear out the west, so there's a lot of flow working up against the western side of this system in the mid and especially the upper levels. So it's just a highly sheared tropical system. I'm not expecting any kind of rapid intensification of Tropical Storm Melissa in the short term, meaning the next day or so. That could change. I could be totally wrong, but from what we're seeing right now, not expecting any kind of even moderate intensification with this system, sort of a slow progression as far as the strength of this system. But just kind of want to show you where this tropical cyclone is right now. You know, you got Jamaica, you got Cuba, Hispaniola already getting kind of the northern fringe of some shower and thunderstorm activity this evening. So if you're tuning in from that area, let me know what you are seeing in the Caribbean islands, what you're hearing and all that stuff. And if you are tuning in, say, hey, I would love to know that there's people watching from this area. Now let's continue to go over the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. As of right now, this is a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm, 1,003 millibar storm, moving west at about 15 miles per hour. And I think this is beginning to really slow down. In fact, before I looked at this, I thought this was moving a little bit slower than this. So I'm actually surprised that they're saying this is going 15 miles per hour. I think this will actually slow down a lot more as we get closer to the end of this week. But this is what we're dealing with right now. Now, this is the classic cone. Now, let's see if we do have the 8 p.m. because that might show something different. No, they're going to stick with the 5 p.m. update. This is the 8 p.m. cone from the National Hurricane Center. More of the classic look most folks are used to seeing when, you know, looking at tropical activity and updates from the tropics. And I'm sure you can look at this and already tell this looks very odd. Okay, you got a bunch of S's really close to each other, and then it goes to an H. The S stands for tropical storm, the H, a hurricane. You can see the time frame here. It's very jumbled up. And what you take from this is it is going to be moving extremely slow. You got hurricane watches up for areas of Haiti, tropical storm watches up for Jamaica. Now, a much better way to look at this, in my opinion, is a Zoom Earth. So it's a free site. It's like combining Google Maps with the tropics. It's awesome. So right now it's a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Might strengthen to a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm by the time we get into around this time tomorrow. And then let's just fast forward, saying it's going to be around a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm by Friday afternoon. So not much strengthening. What is it, Tuesday evening between now and Friday afternoon. Forecast to become a hurricane sometime this weekend. Let's just call it that. And this cone, you see how it's just a big circle? This is where the center of the storm could go. Please don't view this cone, this weird looking circle thing, as an impact cone. We could certainly see impacts well out away from this cone. And this only goes out to Saturday afternoon. We are still going to be dealing with this system well after Saturday, well into next week. Eventually, we'll probably see areas of the Bahamas, the Turks, Caicos Islands into this cone, more of Cuba, more than likely. And there is even a chance this cone could shift down here. So forecast to become a hurricane sometime this weekend. Let's go over some model data. Latest from the Euro. Let's start off with tomorrow morning. Our system's right here in the central eastern Caribbean, 1,000 millibar low. Right now, it's an actual 1,003 millibar low. So indicates a little bit of strengthening with this system. And as we continue to progress forward here, we start to get into tomorrow afternoon at 998. So the more this number drops, indicates a strengthening storm system. So we continue to move forward here, and then we'll go over all the way into Thursday morning. Not much strengthening. You can see there's not much movement with our system right here. And we continue to move forward here as we get into Thursday afternoon. And then we get into Thursday evening. And then we get into Friday morning, there's just not a whole lot of strengthening. But as we start to get into Friday, you can see that now this is a 988 millibar low. So this is either a strong tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane. So we'll kind of go back, right? Okay, this is tomorrow morning. Let's go all the way now to Friday morning. And you're just going to see how slow this moves. There's not much movement with this. And then we're going to continue to move forward all the way into Saturday morning. And the Euro is saying now this is around a Category 1 or 2 hurricane just southeast of Jamaica. Close enough to, and I think this system, as we get further in time, I think that divergence aloft will occur, meaning just the upper wind pattern will get better, this system will become broader, and the impacts of this system will really spread out is what I'm trying to say. So by Saturday morning, I mean, we have a hurricane potentially right off the coastline of Jamaica, or it could be tucked in more so right between like Haiti, Cuba, and Jamaica. Very well could be. This is where the cone is, right? And, you know, the latest operational run has this as almost a major hurricane south of Jamaica around Sunday morning. So it's kind of what? It's on this side of the cone, the operational run is. Okay, and we continue to move forward here, and we go all the way into next Monday. Well, Monday, and that is October the 27th. This is a 943 millibar low, just churning away here in the Caribbean, just south of Jamaica, bringing impacts. And finally, it moves north and makes a direct impact on this particular run into Jamaica and then eventually into eastern Cuba it would just be a catastrophic scenario. And then we get about a week from today and a week from Wednesday morning. So this is all the way to next Wednesday morning. It's a 944 millibar low going right through the Turks Caicos Islands as a major hurricane. So if we put all this in motion really fast for you, let's go all the way back. Because I want you guys to really see the slower progression of this. Okay, this is Friday. This is Saturday. This is Sunday. This is Monday. This is Tuesday of next week. Wednesday of next week. And then it jolts out into the North Atlantic. Extremely slow progression of this system. Now we do have the 18Z run. So let's look at that. And this goes all the way out to Monday afternoon, the 27th. So let's compare that with the run earlier this afternoon. And yeah, it's definitely different. It's almost 40 millibars weaker and a little bit more to the east. So that's something to watch. We're still trying to figure this one out. The GFS continues to be a bit of an outlier, and the National Hurricane Center is not nodding much to the GFS. It has this thing as 1,000 millibar low as we're waking up tomorrow morning, but really strengthens this tomorrow into a hurricane and then immediately books it north and slams the southern coastline by Friday of Hispaniola as about a Category 1 hurricane or strong tropical storm. And then Saturday, Sunday, and then next Monday, this thing's kind of stalling out north of Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and then finally it books it on out of here. Jamaica's the best case scenario, but the best case scenario is still somebody's worst case scenario, and that would be Hispaniola. So the reason I say that it's a better case scenario maybe with that is because it just impacts less people. If it takes more of the European route, it's going to impact just more landmass in general. For example, GFS, if that's what happens, Hispaniola is what gets hit. If the Euro happens, you got Jamaica, you got Cuba, you got the Turks Caicos Islands, areas of the Bahamas. But it could take a middle ground. Now that's all the individual model runs I'm going to go over. Okay, this is the latest Euro ensemble. And this is a great way to look at it. I'm going to start looking at this more. So this is blending all 51 members together. All these little squiggly lines are each individual member. So what you're going to see here is the blue. That is the actual operational run that we just discussed. So it kind of goes like this, squiggles around, and shoots off like this. The ensemble mean kind of takes, and by the way, this is between now and the next 10 days. Go 10 days out. The ensemble mean follows the operational run, but then it's just after about the several day time frame, after we get into early next week, it really wants to get further west than what the operational Euro is showing. So it takes it more over here and then makes an abrupt turn. Now, you look at the GFS ensemble, and let's see if we have the latest one. We probably don't. Let's go down here, and we don't. So that's okay. The GFS ensemble, this makes up 21 members. So the actual operational run is well east than the ensemble run. The ensemble run gets this further west, kind of does some weird tracks like the Euro and Euro ensemble, turns around, hits Jamaica, and hits eastern Cuba. So it's further east. It's smart to look at the ensemble run over the operational runs. And then the Google DeepMind. This is the concerning thing. And the Google DeepMind guidance has done very well. And I think this is just the up-and-coming model guidance to look at. And I'm going to be fascinated to see how it does in the winter also. But you can see how it kind of just does what the Euro ensemble does. And it's in general just much further west, would bring more of an impactful scenario, obviously to Jamaica, Cuba, Turks, Caicos Islands, but still would bring impacts to Haiti. That's why you guys have a hurricane watch. Remember that too, hurricane watch in Haiti. Okay, Jamaica, tropical storm watch. All right, so we'll go back to this, and I mean, you can tell, it's just further west. The concerning thing to me with the Google DeepMind here is we'll start this off Friday. A lot of the members are really clustered up here together, right? But watch what happens. A lot of these members now are getting this west. And you see these areas in pink, folks, like these pink kind of lines following these red L's. These are all members showing major hurricanes. Now, I don't want you to think there's 20 major hurricanes out here. This is an ensemble, combines all these members together, throws them all in output for us. But there is a lot of members in here that are Category 4 or 5 hurricanes. A lot. Most of them. At least major hurricanes. That is highly concerning. All those little pink areas, major hurricanes. So I had somebody ask a question, Bobby, which is we follow each other on social media, and she's really into the tropics. She asked a really good question. She said, what's your opinion on one of these higher end scenarios of this reaching Category 4 or 5? I would say that it's very possible. The more that this drifts, I would say more so into this area right here, the higher the possibility of this legitimately reaching an upper end hurricane, Cat 4, Cat 5. I think if it kind of makes its way into this area, I think there's going to be too much interaction with terrain, with its actual cyclonic spin. But we'll see. It could do its thing regardless. But as far as impacts, folks, I know a lot of the islands down here go off millimeters. But, I mean, they're already going for the southern areas of Haiti, the Dominican Republic for, folks are going for 200 to 300 millimeters of rain. That's 8 to 12 inches of rain. So over a foot in certain areas. So a lot. Now, this only extends out to, I believe, between now and the 25th of October. So if you're wondering in Jamaica, Cuba, what about us? What about us in the Bahamas, Turks, Caicos Islands? Well, this forecast is not extended into that time frame yet. That'll change in the coming days. Now, as far as winds, guys, I'm not going to get super detailed with winds right now because there's just a lot to figure out. And that stinks. It doesn't have my winds. But the timeline of these winds, this is timeline of tropical storm force winds. This is the probability of seeing tropical storm force winds. And right now in Haiti and Jamaica, you're up to anywhere from a 30 to a 50% chance to see it. Time frame, trying to get this to pull up for us. Here we go. This is the time frame of it. So by tomorrow evening, afternoon, should start to see it in Hispaniola. And by late tomorrow night, Jamaica, and eventually into late Thursday night, you should start to feel it here in Cuba, Turks, Caicos Islands, Bahamas. By the time we get into later this work week, tropical storm force wind gusts are going to be possible. As far as rainfall, I'm just going to look at the Euro ensemble. It's between now and the next 10 days. Shows catastrophic rainfall probabilities here, folks. I mean, the areas that you see in the yellow to the kind of the brownish yellow color, almost orange, that is anywhere from 100 to 250 millimeters of rain. So some areas will see 6 to 12 inches of rain off this ensemble average here. The probability for catastrophic rainfall is there. Now, as far as what's steering this, a lot of people are wondering what in the world's going on. Okay, and this is a tough one to explain, but I want to explain what kind of steering currents we're looking at verifying for tomorrow. And that's not obviously verifying, but what the Euro is showing what should be going on tomorrow in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere as far as flow. Okay, so flow up here, let's use this color. Flow up here, you see these wind barbs right here, you see the flag on this side, this is a wind bar. That means the flow is coming from this direction. You got a big trough up here with the flow kind of going like this. At the same time, you got some sort of ridge over here, and the flow is going like this around the ridge. Okay, maybe you can feel it a little bit further to the east there. And then over here, there is some sort of weak high pressure with flow. I mean, very weak, very, very weak high pressure. A little bit of flow around that. Our tropical system itself, which is right here, is kind of sandwiched in between weakness of all these flows. It's close enough to really feel this high pressure, but this little ridge of high pressure really isn't strong. It's not influencing much of the flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere to really steer this. So this system is really right now being steered by very weak flow from the lower levels of the atmosphere, which is like the trade winds. That's why it's moving kind of west right now, kind of drifting 10, 15 miles per hour. It can't feel the flow from this. It can't feel the tug from up here, and it's not getting a real big boost from this ridge at all either. Now, as we move forward here, this system crawls its way even into a more weakness. So it's even further away from this weak influence. It's still way too south of this flow at the bottom edge of this trough, and this ridge over here is still way too far away. Now, what happens as we get into this weekend, something interesting happens here. You actually could get a bit of a nose of this ridge. It kind of goes like this, kind of goes like that, and then it kind of goes like this. So some sort of high pressures right here. This could actually steer the system a little bit deeper into the Caribbean. And on this particular run, it does. It kind of keeps it south of Jamaica. Okay, so it actually tries to push this a little bit deeper into the Caribbean, which is very interesting here. And you can see how it kind of nods that way a little bit? I mean, not a little bit, it's a good bit. And then it just sits here and spins and spins. And finally, it finds a weakness in the ridge up here, and it can probably feel the tug somewhat of the flow up here. And it's going to find that weakness and eject outward then. I think I've always liked looking at this better. I think a better way to look at this is this right here. Okay. Back it up here. You see the white on your screen? That's neither a strong ridge or a strong trough. Okay. So basically, our system's right here. It's in this white area, kind of this void of no real steering influence. And it's just spinning here. And eventually, a trough digs down. It connects blue and blue, low pressure here, flow around this going like this. Okay? It feels that weakness, and it gets slingshot out into the North Atlantic. But in the medium term, I mean, this thing is just slow. Boom! Then it fires off into the North Atlantic. Okay? So what could cause this thing to really significantly strengthen? Well, the system's right here. Right now, it's getting hit pretty good by some westerly wind shear. It's hitting the system. Okay, I want to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, you can see the lines right here, and this is a 200 millibar, so 40,000 feet up in the air. Flow is working up against the system. Now, on top of the system, you got a lot of divergence aloft. On the eastern side, a lot of flow working out like that, expanding. So on the sides of the storm where I kind of pushed arrows drew arrows out away from the system, the environment's much better. And that makes sense. If you look at the satellite right now, the western side of the system is really struggling. I think some things could change as we start to move into this weekend. And I'm going to take it all the way into about right. Let's go all the way about to right here. And in fact, this thing really gets a boost. But let's back it up around right here. Okay, at this point, a lot of fast divergence aloft, a lot of flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere being pushed out away from the system right here. Right here, it gets a little wonky right here, and there's a little bit of shear. I think this system is going to be dealing with shear with the life of it. The life of this system, the storm system, I'm trying to speak right. The entirety of this, the life of this storm will be dealing with shear. Okay. But I really think there's a time frame sometime late this weekend, early next week, where there's going to be a lot of air being pushed out away from this system. And I don't think it's more so a lot of air being pushed out away from the system. I just think in general, when the system gets right into here, this system kind of creates its own environment. There's just not much flow anywhere in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So this system creates almost its own environment where it just thrives. And you can see it best if you switch it to the 200 to 850 millibar wind shear. this system basically just kind of creates its own environment right here. So it really just thrives. You combine that with really warm sea surface temperature. Sea surface temperatures of 30, 31 degrees Celsius. You convert that to Fahrenheit. That's mid to upper 80s. So it's like a bathtub in the Caribbean. So just really an environment that supports this. I'm going to go back to this. That really supports this creating its own environment as it gets into really slow steering currents, especially if it dips down deeper into the Caribbean. And just a lot of air being rapidly pushed out away from the system right here. It's pretty wild to see it, and it gets a little weirder right here, but I think there's just such low wind shear. If it can dip further enough south in the Caribbean, that this system will be able to really cocoon itself with a lot of moist air. Therefore, when it does eventually eject out into more higher wind shear with all the flow up here, I think that it could survive it for a time period before eventually getting ripped apart by the wind shear. So when you got a lot of divergence, a lot of air being dispersed out away from the system in the upper levels, it allows for a lot of air to rise. That gets pushed out away. More air rises. That gets pushed out away. We know that if a consistent kind of cycle of rising air occurs, rising air allows for shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity creates a moist environment. Tropical systems love moist air. And then you open up the gate for a period of rapid intensification, which could occur if this dips a little bit too much into the Caribbean. So, yeah, that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll continue to try to figure this one out. We'll have you a new update in the morning. God bless you all. We're praying for you folks down in the Caribbean, hoping and praying for the best case scenario. Y'all have a good night.